One of the more interesting new game reveals from 2025 was undoubtedly Beast of Reincarnation, coming from none other than Pokemon developer Gamefreak. While Gamefreak have developed a handful of other games outside of the Pokemon brand, we've never quite seen something to this degree coming from the studio. A AAA Action RPG mixing in both tactical and turn-based elements set in a post-apocalyptic Japan. It's also pulling in a bunch of ideas and inspiration from a multitude of other things as well, namely Princess Mononoke, NieR, and even Sekiro. The recent 10-minute deep dive that Gamefreak dropped during the Xbox Developer Direct has given us a really good idea as to what type of an action RPG this is, and dare I even say that this is possibly the most refreshing take on the genre that I think I've seen in quite a while. So far, Beast of Reincarnation is truly proving that when Gamefreak aren't bound to the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, they do have some really fresh and exciting ideas. These dudes have been developing Pokemon games for the past 30 years as of February of this year, so it's really cool to know that in the year of the 30th anniversary of Pokemon games, these guys are coming out with something entirely different. And in this deep dive video, you can truly pick up on just how excited some of these developers are to step outside of their comfort zone to create something new and original. It should be known though that there's only a small handful of Game Freak developers that are actually working on this game, whereas the bulk of devs are actually being outsourced by external studios. Still though, this is very much a Game Freak title being led by the studio, with Kota Furushima directing the game. So the game takes place in a post-apocalyptic Japan during the era of 4026, where most of planet Earth has been enveloped by a parasitic growth known as blight. This blight was born from a large beast known as the Beast of Reincarnation that arrived on planet Earth 2,000 years ago. Through the arrival of this thing, nature is pretty much taken over and most of the human population is almost extinct. The blight would go on to spawn creatures known as Malefax, animal and plant hybrids, but also even more dangerous versions of which that pose a threat to humanity known as Nushi, which are further corrupted by the blight. The game revolves around Emma and her Malefax wolf companion Ko as they journey across Japan. Right now it seems like the basic premise of this game is for Emma to try find the Beast of Reincarnation as she's tasked with this mission, which would theoretically end the blight. What's important to know about Emma though is she's a sealer, a person that's born with Malefact attributes. This means that she can manipulate the powers of nature and growth, which is directly tied into gameplay systems. For example, she can create a bridge of roots or gain additional jump height by creating roots underneath her. It's explained that sealers are feared and looked down upon by the remaining populace, so Emma is very much a solo agent. While you will cross paths with many different NPCs as you progress through the game, Game Freak have made it very apparent that the core concept of Beast of Reincarnation is a journey with a companion. Ko here apparently serves an important purpose from a narrative point of view, and that's going to be one of the game's lingering mysteries. The premise and the world setting very much reminds me of NieR mixed in with Princess Mononoke, which is really cool. The gameplay here is very much real-time hack-and-slash action RPG, which is different for Game Freak as they've been developing primarily turn-based titles for the past 30 years, and it's looking incredibly good. There is a Sekiro parry mechanic with the attack indicator effect. We've got a dodge system here, a wide array of different enemy types, whether it be the Malefax and Nushi or golems, which are robot constructs where humans put their consciousness into to live beyond the blight. This combat system though has a unique mechanic known as blooming arts, which is directly tied to the parrying system. So parrying here in this game is very much encouraged. As you successfully perform parries, it will build up Ko's gauge meter right here. Chunks of this resource can then be spent on special blooming arts attacks. You can bring up this menu which slows down time mid-combat to select which special attack here you want to activate based on how many available chunks you've built up through parrying. I would say that these blooming arts can be learnt as there is a skill tree in the game and then you equip them into the menu. It also looks like you can attach modifiers onto these special attacks as well, as we see right here. This attack has a mod that will regenerate HP. This one has end of the line, whatever that means, and this one has rapid cooling. You'll also notice that if Ko's gauge is completely maxed out here upon activating a blooming art, you'll get 100% extra damage plus 50% extra stagger. Yes, enemies also do have a stagger gauge. Gamefreak explains that this system here is very much a turn-based RPG element, with time slowing down, allowing the player to think about what they want to activate and selecting a specific enemy. In a way, this heavily reminds me of Final Fantasy VII Remake's combat system, which is primarily an action RPG, but also integrates a lot of turn-based and tactical elements. Which is a really good thing, by the way. If more developers can be inspired through that combat system, which is so unique to the action RPG genre, then we are winning. Activating these blooming arts also allows Emma to follow up with additional quick time event combo attacks. While in this mode, you can see if an enemy is going to be weak to a certain blooming arts and what type of status effect it may add to the enemy, like a burn or perhaps maybe a bind. Gamefreak also explains that there are varying different playstyles here. While you can charge headfirst into combat with sword in hand, there is also ranged capabilities, whether it be the bow and crossbow with different ammo types. And if you prefer more of a stealth-orientated approach, there is even a stealth system here with assassinations. And I guess a little bit similar to Final Fantasy 16 with how you can command Torgal, it's sort of the same here with Ko. You can tell him to stay by your side or charge ahead and act on his own. While we didn't get to see it in the recent gameplay, there is also this gauge right here, which can be activated by pressing L3 and R3. Most people will be able to guess what this is. It's sort of like a burst mode where guessing. This gauge will fill up as you perform blooming art attacks, and it's known as Entanglement Overdrive, which can be further upgraded via the skill tree. So let's talk about the skill tree. So there's two separate ones for Ko and Emma. We got to see Emma's briefly in the gameplay right here, and you can see that it splits off into three different categories: tracking shot, hair, and entanglement overdrive. There's also some skills at the top of the tree here known as blade arts, which are likely new combos that you can perform with the sword. Each node can be purchased using skill points. There is a leveling system in this game, as we can see in the inventory screen right here. Ko and Emma are currently level 10, but it's probably a case where skill points in your overall level are actually separate to one another, where you likely gain skill points from completing combat encounters or doing things in the world, whereas your overall level will increase your HP, attack, defense, skill power, and critical rate, gaining XP from defeated enemies. It looks like some skill nodes can be leveled up multiple times, just judging by this yellow gauge underneath a few, representing how many extra times they can be leveled up. There's also equipment in this game as well. You can change your katana, so there'll be multiple katanas throughout the game. It doesn't look like you can change the bow or crossbow, though you can change different ammo types. There will also be multiple different outfits that will have a different amount of spirit stone slots. It seems like spirit stone's the main equipable here, almost acting as a purple materia from Final Fantasy VII. You can see that each one comes with a different effect, like this one will boost Emma and Ko's attack by 50% when Emma's HP falls below 0, but there's also additional effects here depending on the level, with level 5 achieving full tracking, whatever that means. So this indicates that spirit stones can also be leveled up as well. We didn't get to see it in this footage, but it also looks like Mr. Wolf right here also has his own equipment slots too. It also looks like elements are going to be quite important in this game as well. There are 4 different categories: poison, corrosion, burn, and shock, as there are 2 separate categories here in the menu for affliction as well as our own resistance. Enemies also have an element icon next to their health bar, which likely represents what they're weak to. We can see that the golem here has a corrosion one, which means that corrosive abilities will work best. So there are weaknesses and resistances. Now IGN did ask what type of a game this is. Is it open world, or is it perhaps more linear, or maybe even Metroidvania? Furushima said, the way we created this game, it is about a journey with a beginning, middle, and end. It kind of conjures up images of a road movie sort of thing. So it's not open world in the purest sense. The game is comprised of different stages, but these stages I would not describe as linear either. There's quite a lot of room for exploration, a lot of radiation between the different environments, and things of that nature. So, judging by this reply, the game is not open world, but nor is it really linear either. It seems like there are going to be levels, but each of these levels are going to be quite spacious and wide open. and we can get a little bit of a glimpse of that from the most recent gameplay. To further add on to this, Furushima was asked what can players expect from these levels. Are there puzzles? Are there activities? Furushima said, "You're doing a lot of different things in the game. I think there are no traditional puzzles to put block progress, for instance, as you saw them, but there are definitely puzzle adjacent segments of the game. For example, this game takes place in a world that's been largely destroyed, so you could come to a part where you want to get across a chasm, and the bridge has been destroyed, so you have to start thinking, how can I get across there? Emma, the main character, has a lot of abilities at her disposal. She can extend a vine or a plant. She can use that, for example, to cross a chasm instead of a bridge, right? So she has certain abilities at her disposal that can help her get through this world. Of course, battle is a huge part of the game as well as exploration. There's definitely parts where you want to see what's off the beaten path. So exploration and platforming, just maneuvering around this world using those special abilities that Emma has is an important core concept of how the flow of this game works. So hypothetically speaking, let's say that the game is split into 7 different chapters. That would mean that we have 7 medium to large environments or levels that we can explore with different combat encounters and progression littered throughout. It's not open world, but it's definitely not just a straightforward path either. Something really cool though about the stages and environments of Beast of Reincarnation is it looks like when you enter into like a new forest, for example, you witness in real time the forest manipulating and growing before your eyes. This is the result of a Nushi, one of the boss enemies that you'll have to hunt down in a stage in order to purge that blight, corrupting the environment around you. Now, Gamefreak did confirm here that upon defeating a Nushi within a stage doesn't mean that the environment around you is going to drastically change once again, and there's going to be some differences within that said level. Honestly, that would have been a kind of cool idea to incentivize players to go back to a previously explored area to find something new, like a new path or hidden collectible or something, but it is mentioned here that you can go back to previously explored locations. Furushima said, "You're oftentimes going to want to explore and find hidden areas and items and things of that nature. There's plenty of secrets to discover in places that essentially you've already been through. You're able to freely go back and keep exploring." So it sounds like no matter how far you've progressed through the game, you are always free to go back to a previously explored location. The 2 last things of note right here is currency of some sort up the top right of the menu screen, so that could possibly indicate that there might be shops or vendors of some sort, and also the mention of camps. It says attributes available at camp, so it looks like there's going to be a base of operations or a location that you can return back to rest and do other things. This isn't shown during the recent gameplay, but I'm assuming this shot right here of what looks like Shrek's swamp might potentially be one of those camps. So that's everything you need to know about Beast of Reincarnation for the time being. Gamefreak also dropped the release season of the game. It is coming out this year during US summer, so either Q3 or Q4 of 2026. Honestly, this has quickly become one of my most anticipated games of this year. We are drowning in so much good video game content for 2026, and this is just yet another layer of meat to add into our video game sandwich. I really hope that this turns out to be something, truly special and really well received, because I want Gamefreak to start doing things outside of Pokemon. I'm so happy for these guys that they've found themselves in a position where they can do something totally different with obviously a lot of thought and passion put behind it. Let me know your thoughts and opinions about Beast of Reincarnation in the comment section down below. Is this going to be a day 1 for you guys? I'd love to know. Thank you so much for tuning into today's video. Be sure to slippity slap that like button and subscribe to keep up with everything going on here. Big shout out to my wonderful patrons and YouTube members. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, and we'll chat again real soon.